Hello, hello! Welcome to a new video. I'm Susanne from Susie's Journal Adventure, and today I'm going to make a cover for a new journal. So I recently made this masterboard. This is a jelly print that I didn't like, and so I thought, why not glue some paper scraps onto it? So I just grabbed some neutral papers, book pages in white and this brown, very vintage here, and glued them on. I'm always using my matte gel for such projects. And also I used a sheet of this green checkered scrapbook paper. For the next layer I just applied some white gesso to bring all the pieces a little bit together. And then I recently found these napkins who can walk by this beautiful floral design. I mean, I had to grab them. So I thought, why not make some decoupage onto this masterboard? So I just added the top layer of these napkins and glued them onto this masterboard as the last layer. And I have this journal that I made, I don't know, approximately 2 years ago, maybe. This is made from an old book from which I used the cover, the back and the front cover. And I made a new spine with these fabrics, rust-dyed fabrics, and this floral one. I sewed in signatures with a lot of eco-dyed papers, rust-dyed fabrics, and on some of these pages I already did some artwork. And I really love it. I love all the layering here. And as you can see, this napkin reminded me of this fabric. And so when I looked at this masterboard and I was thinking about what I wanted to do now with it, I immediately thought, especially because this is pretty sturdy because of all of the layerings that I have here. Yeah, I thought, why not make a cover out of it? Because, yeah, and then I realized, okay, this reminded me obviously of this fabric and this journal. So the plan for today is I want to make the cover, and then probably I will make the signature and sew in the signature in the next video. So this paper has the size DIN A4, 29.5 centimeters by approximately 21 centimeters. I really love smaller journals, so I'm going to cut this down into halves. And I will cut this apart as well. So I'm lining it up with the grid on my cutting mat. Now we have these two pieces, the front and the back cover. I will leave this excess here. I love this. And since this is already pretty sturdy because I applied multiple layers of paper scraps onto the paper, and the paper itself was a thicker one, I guess it was my 120 GSM photo paper that I used for the jelly print. So I guess I will at first decide what I want to do for the insides of the covers. And since I have this fabric, you know, that I used on this journal, why not use it for covering the insides here? So I'm thinking maybe this is too much excess. So I would love the fabric to peek out behind the cover. I will later on sew over here. And oh no, this doesn't work. Because I'm just realizing, okay, when I sew it on like this so that I can see the fabric on the cover, then I don't have anything here. So I have to either double it or do something else. I have this fabric here, and I think this is a nice contrast to this design. And I think I will tear down 2 pieces in the same size so that I can sew them on for the inside of the front and the back cover. So this is the idea, the front cover, and you open the journal and you have this inside. Before I sew this together, I have to make the decision which step I want to or I have to do next. So let me at first show you what I want to do. I want to have an open spine in the end. So this means I have to connect the front cover and the back cover with 2 pieces of fabric. You know, like so. And then we have this opening here in the spine where you can later on see the, you know, the signatures where they are folded and sewed in. And I'm now thinking, where do I want to have these fabric strips? Do I want them like so? Or maybe do I even want them like so on this panel? Oh, I think I love this because this adds a nice interest to the cover, doesn't it? But I think I will have to cut the, you know, these fabric pieces a little bit down in width. So we have this situation. And I cut down 2 more pieces of this fabric that I will use for the spine. And I will now glue them down onto a piece of packaging paper, because I will later on, as I've already said, sew in the signatures into these fabric scraps, and I want to have them a little bit more sturdy. So this is a normal piece of such an Amazon packaging envelope. So I want to cut this slightly smaller than the fabric scraps so that we won't see anything of the paper in the end. Like so. I will now glue down these papers onto the fabric, and I will use my textile glue. Okay, I did this for all the 4 fabric pieces. Next, I'm going to sew together these 2 sandwiches, the panel, the floral fabric and the inside fabric. But before I'm going to do this, I want to ink up the edges a little bit. So for a nice contrast, I'm using walnut stain. And now I will sew them together. So I went around with a straight stitch with a white thread twice. I'm already loving all these threads peeking out, and this is such a beautiful mess always. So now I have to decide what I want. No, I actually don't have to decide. I wanted to say I have to decide what I want for the front cover and what I want for the back cover, but actually this is not necessary, to be honest. Yes, I can just sew them on. The only thing I want to pay attention to is I want my numbers to both face in the same direction. So I don't like the straight edges of the fabric. So I fray them a little bit before I sew them on. So if you do this, you have to pay attention that you don't hurt yourself. Okay. Okay, now the plan is to decide how wide I want my spine to be. And to be honest, maybe this is a good size. How many signatures do I have in here? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. I think this is a nice number. 1, 2, 3, and the spine is approximately 4 centimeters. Yes, let's go with 4 centimeters as well. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So make sure you line your cover panels up. I mean, you know, that they are not like so, but it helps to use a ruler or something like that. And this grid here really helps for these kind of steps. So I will at first sew these onto the covers, and in the next step I will sew on those on the inside. So this is how it looks like, and I really, really love it. This is the inside. And here you get the idea of how the finished journal will look like. You can see the signatures. And what I absolutely adore about these projects where you use fabric and where you sew is, obviously you immediately have a lot of interest with these threads that you have literally everywhere on your project. You just want to touch it, and yeah, you even want to hug it and open it and see all the details. Absolutely in love. So maybe you feel inspired to make your own journal cover in this style. I hope so. And if you want to see me selecting the papers for this journal and sewing in the signatures, stay tuned and watch the next video. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye.